Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Points. I'm your host, Syed Neaz Ahmad. In our studios today, we have a gentleman who has spent some time in the Bangladesh forces. He is an entrepreneur, a writer, a speaker, a historian, and above all, a gentleman of highest order. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Imran A. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
I hope the rains did not bother you.
No, it's a long journey, but yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Right.
I'm honored to come here and speak.
Since you are a great observer and a thinker and a writer and historian as well, a lot of things are happening in the world today. And particularly we as Bangladeshis, we are concerned about the situation on our eastern borders with Burma. And with that in mind, I have arranged to see a documentary, and then we would like to talk about it. Could you show the documentary, please? This is what is happening in Burma at the moment with they call the ethnic minority Rohingyans. By racial description, they are called of Bengali origin, but really they are Burmese living there for hundreds of years. Things have not been very peaceful for them for quite some time. They have been denied of their rights, their citizenship, and for some political reason that we'll discuss later after this footage is shown, that they were driven out. They have been driven out. There are hundreds and thousands of Rohingyans living in many parts of many countries. I've met at least 67,000 in Saudi Arabia. A lot of them are living in Bangladesh. Some of them have gone on to India, where they're made to feel that they're not welcome there. The problem is that they are human beings, apart from whether they are Bangladeshis or Bengali origin or Muslims, or they are of no political status. They are human beings, and they are being treated like as if they are not humans. And this is what is pathetic. Look at them, the way their plight. They have left their homes, their houses have been burnt, they've left everything. They are being killed, butchered, and the world is watching. This is a slap on the humanity, the entire human being and the entire race of mankind, that this is happening in 21st century. This is what we are going to discuss today, and of course, other things as well. Well, welcome back. Our guest today, as I said before, he is a historian and also a writer, and he has great insight into things. Mr. Imran A. Choudhury, as we were discussing just before the show, this is not something that has happened today and the world has woken up. It's been happening. It's been like a time bomb waiting to explode. But there were flashpoints here and there. The Rohingyans, call them Rakhine, from that Rakhine state, they have been subjected. What is the history?
History, before I go to the history, let me just remind you something. Not long ago, 1971, on the 29th of April, I made the same journey to pour into the shores of India to seek refugee status.
They said some 10 million people crossed the border.
Yes, 10 million people crossed the border. And I'll be honest with you, without any prejudice, had India not given us shelter, my family, myself, I would not have been here to talk about
Sure.
this. So,
Even I have gone on to write about it, and I sit in that the history would have been different.
yes. And there would have been no liberation war. It would have just stopped, you know. So anyway, that's despite the issue that we are facing at this moment, but it just brings the memory back.
Yep.
And there is no pride and there is no dignity for anyone to become a refugee. Trust me, I was 11 years old and I remember every single day of my plight. I can imagine and understand what they're going through.
That's right.
And seems like the world has turned a blind eye.
Right.
This is not Rohingya, it is not Bengalis, it is not Muslims, it is the humanity in crisis.
Right. I see.
And I think world has...
But going to the world is the second stage. Let's just start from our own self. I mean, as I've been talking about it, even last October we talked about it at other forums, see, that we owe it to humanity. This is the payback time.
Yes.
We have got to show that, yes, we are also human beings. And this is the gratitude. If somebody was nice to me, let us carry on. Pass it on. In future generations, somebody will do the same thing to others, you see. So the goodness will
prevail.
spread.
Yes. For Bangladesh, we have no choice but to allow them to come.
Right.
There is no question about it, because they are Bengalis, very much. And bear in mind, Yazbhai, Bengalis are the third largest ethnic group in the world. After the hands of the Chinese and the Arabs, Bengali has got the highest number of people in the whole of the world, in excess of 350 million. At this present day, there is no other ethnic group so large. So,
including that of West Bengal.
Including West Bengal, anybody living, even in, I have friends who knows that people from Bengal were shipped out by the British in the Eastern African belt, where they have never come back. But they are also Bengalis, no matter where you are born, where you live.
We're talking about the race.
Yes, the race. Now, it is our moral responsibility, it is our humanitarian responsibility to give them the refuge and shelter, food. As long as they need to stay, they have to stay. I know it's a burden for us, economical aspect, but out of 160 million population, there will be only 1 or 2 million. It's a drop in the ocean,
right?
Literally. But jeta hocche je, the funniest thing is the world at large has turned a blind eye. These Rohingyas were basically the people. I studied in Rangamati College, so I know, I have a lot of friends who are Bengali from original Chittagonian, Satkania, then we have Bandarban, go all the way to Ukhia, go all the way to Teknaf. These boys and girls were our friends in this college, in Rangamati College. The Rohingyas are literally the same people, just living on the other side.
Right.
Now, world,
they speak the same language.
They speak the same language, same accent, everything, the culture, social cultures, everything is same. This is not only Rohingya Muslim, there are Rohingya Hindus as well.
Right, yes.
Because in Shatkania and all those belt, there are plenty of Hindus and Muslims, they nestle together, living there for last perhaps more than 1,000 years. So there was not a problem at all, but now it has become a problem. The problem is the Portuguese...
You said 1,000 years. They have lived together peacefully for last 1,000 years.
Yeah, minimum.
Minimum. See, nothing has happened.
No.
Well, what disturbed the peace?
What disturbed the peace? That is what I'm coming to. Let's see. In Bengal, Bangladesh, today's Bangladesh or Bengal, say if you go back to the history, 1204, when the Islamization came into our part of the world, with the invent of Mr. Ikhtiaruddin Muhammad bin Bakhtiar Khalji. So then onwards started to perpetuate and the Islamization took place. But if you just look at Brahmanbaria as a town, you will see a Hindu house here, the next house is a Muslim house, the third house is a Qadiani house, and the next house is Olok, my friend, who is a Baptist Christian.
Yeah.
So they have been living in peace and harmony for all along their life, and I have never seen any different. But this is a difference that we can see now. I'll come back to that point, but before that I want to go back to Burma.
Right.
What happened is, I think why I say world has turned a blind eye is because when the Portuguese came to our part of the world, they were the biggest plunderers. You know, we never liked the Feringis. Bengalis have never fancied the Feringis. And the Feringis, what happened, they had these ships coming from all the way from the Cape of Horn and all that. Is a long Plato journey, right, all the way from Lisbon to Sandip. It's a long journey. The oak and the pines of Portugal were not good enough to withstand that saline water in the West Bay of Bengal. So they envisaged that if I start building our ships with ticks from Burma, it will last longer.
Right.
So what happened, the best carpenters were the Bengali carpenters. So they started shipping those Bengali carpenters into Burma, because it was the same country, was no geographical boundary. Sure. So that is then started. Second batch of transportation or a shipment of human being happened during the time of the British.
Right.
So when they wanted to have all the good things from all over the world, and Rangoon, if you know, from Chatpur, if you look at I just wrote an article last week, from Shilchor, through the Kushiara, the Barak, the Shurma and Meghna, the ships would go to Chatpur, and in Chatpur, one would go to Rangoon and the other would go to Calcutta. That was the route. But তারা ওখানে রয়ে গেছে। যেটা মেন প্রবলেম হয়েছে আমি মনে করি যে in the politics and the independence of Indian subcontinent, it became very, very sticky. Who was whose political bed partner, we really don't know. Who was fishing on what territory, we really don't know, because everybody had their own agenda. Partition of India is nothing but, in my eyes, as a student of history, as I see, partition of India is nothing but is the partition of Bengal and partition of Punjab. They haven't touched anything else.
Right.
They have divided Bengal and they have divided Punjab. Now, you would be surprised, on the 14th of August, 1947, Bandarban thought it is going to fall into the side of Burma, and they hoisted British Burmese flag.
Right.
Okay. On 14th of August, Rangamati and Ramgor thought we're going to be in the side of India. So they hoisted Indian Tiranga flag.
Yeah.
But ironically, later on, because their communication was not internet, there was no Wi-Fi, it takes a very long time to understand who has fallen into which side. So they fell into the East Pakistan side. Now, যেটা হয়েছে যে বার্মাতে Aung San Suu Kyi's যে father যে ছিলেন, Mr. Aung San, he was initially colluding with the Japanese. Then he thought Japanese is not going to give me the favor what I want. He tried to come back to British side. Now, if you read the book, Field Marshal William Slim, you know, the Burma campaign, the Burma Star, the gentleman who was the commander, GOC in chief of the 14th Army, of the then British Indian Army. That has a long history. I'll come to that later on. But
we have the time. Yes.
ওই বইতে সে লিখেছে very clearly that I really don't know what he is up to. He wants to come back to us. He is not happy with the promises that Japan is going to give him. And if you remember that film, The Bridge on the River Kauai, is all happening in that scenario. So তখন সে যখন চলে এসছে ব্রিটিশদের কাছে, in other words, not in that many words, but what I understood reading it, he meant that can we really trust him? Now, Suki's father was killed on the 19th of July, 1947, whilst he was having a meeting in his secretariat, and somebody came in, burst into the office, killed him and his brother and 3 others. 5 people died. Ironically, there was a captain called Marvin Vivian of the British Army, who was jailed for 5 years, a rigorous imprisonment in Rangoon jail for his role on killing, because he is the one who supplied the arms to the killers.
Mr. Choudhury, on that sad note, we'll have to take a break.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And when we come back, we'll continue, pick up the thread there.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. We'll be back soon after this. Thank you.